A few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of talking to a member of the Intel field team all about the 11th gen processor inside the MagicBook 2021. First up, thank you for coming on and talking to me today. Everyone, this is Barry from the Intel retail team. We have the privilege of asking him some questions and going through the chipset on the brand new MagicBook 14. So thank you very much for joining today, Barry.
No, welcome, mate. Thank you for letting me come on to speak to your guys and girls and talk about anything Intel and just to go through this great product you guys have got at the moment.
What do you do? Tell us what you're up to.
Okay, so I'm one of the Intel field trainers. We have 6 of us out there that sort of cover the whole of the United Kingdom, all the way down from Southwest Cornwall right up to not the Outer Hebrides. I don't think Rob goes that far, but he goes up to Aberdeen and Inverness, which I used to cover as well. Many moons ago, I used to travel from North Yorkshire to Aberdeen Inverness. It's a long way.
That's a couple of miles, yeah.
So our remit is we go to stores, we do retail training, we do online training. We're pretty much the Intel resource.
I'm probably going to be showing my age here. My first coming across of Intel chips was in the early 90s, where my first PC was a Intel 486 SX 33 megahertz.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it had 4 meg of RAM. Progressing from that, the next one up I had was a Pentium 133, and then P2 450. I think it was.
Yeah, oh well.
It was a beast. It used to run everything that I wanted to. But for a number of years after that, I kind of disappeared into the console territory. Coming back into it, what's happened in between? What's going on here? Because the i5, I believe, is the 11th gen chip?
Yeah. Okay, so a bit of history then. So you're going from a 486, prior to that 386, Pentium 2, Pentium 3, Pentium 4, hyper-threading technology, SSE, all these wonderful things happening with technology in computers in the sort of early 2000s. And we evolved into something called core processors. And we had core mobile, we had core 2 duo. And then where we are now with our core range, and as you rightly say, James, we're now at the 11th incarnation, or the 11th generation, as we would put it. Interestingly, there's been loads of evolution over there. Fun fact for our watchers here. We have something called Moore's Law. Moore's Law states that sort of every 18 months to 2 years, the amount of transistors, i.e. the on-off switches, the thing that makes computing work, will sort of double, yet shrink in size. That is sort of a theme that's happening still today, although it's slightly taking a bit of a different tangent as we're sort of moving on from 11th gen onwards. But we're really at the point now where, if I'm thinking about your 486, the amount of transistors on there will have been in maybe the tens of thousands. We're now in the billions. And for those people who think, what's it about, this transistor stuff? Just use a search engine and just go on there, transistor, and you'll see these sort of big things out there. And if you think that you can fit a billion of these on-off switches onto something which is probably the size of your thumbnail, it's wow. It's a wow moment. This is what controls everything in your PC. We're an ingredient, we're part of this magic book, but you're not going to see anything, you're never going to see it unless you take it out. Probably might void your warranty. But we're there, but we're powering it. Do I have a processor? Sorry, it's not going to work.
If I think back, when was my P2? That was 2001, I think it was. So yeah, 20 years, it is, yeah, 20 years later.
Your P2 450, which is a great one, guess what? That run at 450 megahertz, hence P2 450, hence P2 400. Nice and simple back then.
Yeah.
So 400 megahertz versus now gigahertz. And that ultimately means the larger the number, the more cycles, the more clock cycles, the more operations per second that you can do. And the great thing is, with all our processors nowadays on the core range, there is a baseline, so sort of a speed it'll run at. And we have this amazing technology called Intel Turbo Boost. And what that will do is it'll give it, as it says, a boost in performance up to 4.2 gigahertz in this example here. So that means if you're doing some tasks, it recognises and goes, hang on a minute, doing some picture editing. I need to give you a boost in performance. Think of yourself, think of you being a human being, you're walking along a path, doing your day-to-day walking, and then suddenly you need to run to get to somewhere. You have a boost in performance. Exactly the same idea, but now in process form.
It's very common now for a lot of people to be, like say, photo editing, video editing,
on
effectively small devices, but you've got that power behind it.
Absolutely, and again, just think about that. The P2 that you had, and I remember it well because I had one myself, the size of the physical processor going into the machine was humongous. And now, as you absolutely say, you think of your MagicBook 14, you think how thin the light is, but what the technology is in there. Was it desktop or laptop, James?
Desktop. Huge.
Huge desktop. You think of the power in that, that's actually now probably, well, your mobile phone's probably more powerful than that.
Exactly.
Back in the day, again, James and I are very old people, back in the day, I think I turned 24 last week, by the way, thank you.
Looking good for it, yeah.
Cheers. If you think back in the day, laptops then, when you put them on your lap, they got hot. They got physically hot on your, conversations about people, having to put cushions and pillows there to make sure it didn't burn the legs. We don't have this now. We don't have this problem anymore. Things have come a long way.
On that chipset, there's is it the Iris Xe graphics?
Yeah, so this is a great advancement in the 11th generation. So when you're thinking about this particular product that we've got here, it's an 1135 G7. And so let's just break this down a little bit. The 11, the bit at the front, means it's 11th gen, nice and simple, easy to look at. The 35, the numbers in the middle represent things like the clock speed, how fast it runs at, for example. But the key one at the end is this G7 bit. And G, nice and simple, graphics. So this has a G7 graphics, i.e., the Intel Iris Xe graphics. How does this work? What does it do? Well, this isn't a gaming device. This isn't a specific gaming device. You're not going to buy this if you said, well, what I do is I sit at home all day and I play games for 20 hours. However, you want to take this on the go. You want to do Excel, PowerPoint, Word. You want to do some video editing. You want to do some picture editing. You want to play some games. If you want to play AAA titles, you can do it on this processor and graphics card. This product will tick all those boxes because of the hardware inside it. And that's where the G7 comes to its own. So anything with 11th gen, if you see G7, then it's the Intel Iris Xe graphics, which is just a game changer.
Personally, that's pretty much where I'm at the moment. Doing my work on the laptop, doing a lot of editing bits and pieces, dabbling in games. So being able to still play games on it, not to the complete highest level, but still at a perfectly good, reasonable frame rates, and it does it all in one package, and of course at a decent price as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're looking at a device at £800 that will tick all those boxes. But what it has, 512 SSD, 14-inch screen, 11th gen, G7, hello, that's a great price, amazing price.
Well, that's it. I mean, the MagicBook 14 aimed quite highly at the student market as well, that kind of thing, where you've got that kind of cross ability of what you're looking for your laptop to do. It will tick all those boxes. Is there anything about the processor that keeps the battery use down?
Anything with Intel Core processors, and this has evolved over the years now, we have something called speed step technology, which is ultimately, if your machine's run at 2 gigahertz all the time, it's going to use battery. So the technology within processors nowadays says, well, you're just doing a Word document. It will almost run slow. It will run at, say, 1 gigahertz, less than 1 gigahertz. Almost a bit like a reverse turbo. So it just continues to work in the background, doing whatever it needs to do. Background tasks kick in. If a virus scan kicks in, for example, then it will go back to its original speed. Again, if you start doing some video or picture editing, then you're going to get that turbo boot all the way to 4 gigahertz plus. That's really where processors are intelligent. The great thing is, you don't need to worry about it. This is all automatically managed within the system, within the processor itself. It's even intelligent enough to work out and say, well, actually, it's a quad-core processor. Do I need all 4 cores running at the same time? No, I don't. I'll switch some cores on. So you've actually got everything in one package that's got the performance, but also got that efficiency as well.
That's great. And it's interesting to hear that all those things happen behind the scenes, that you don't have to be PC literate to a degree to be able to dive into the settings and preset these things. It's all happening for you.
And then one of the other big things is Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi 6.
Yes.
Everything is Wi-Fi nowadays. The great thing about Wi-Fi 6 is it's fast. It offers seamless connectivity. But actually going forward, having a Wi-Fi 6 router and a Wi-Fi 6 device, it means you're going to get the best connectivity involved.
Thank you so much for giving us your enlightened thoughts on everything Intel there. Thank you very much, Barry. Appreciate you coming on today and hope to see you sometime soon. Maybe in real life.
Cheers, James. Thank you very much. Yeah, see you soon in real life. We'll have a coffee.
Yeah, nice. Okay, fair enough. Take care. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.